My name is Sarah Mitchell, and this is the story of how one decision changed my entire life. 5 years ago, I was a nervous 23-year-old starting my first real job at Miller and Associates, a small marketing company in Chicago. On my first day, I made a terrible mistake. I accidentally deleted an important client presentation just 2 hours before the meeting. I was terrified. Most bosses would have fired me immediately, but Mr. James Miller, the company owner, did something unexpected. "Can you remember what was in the presentation?" he asked calmly. Together with the team, we recreated the entire presentation in 90 minutes. We won the client, and Mr. Miller taught me the most important lesson of my career. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is how you handle them. That day, I learned that Mr. Miller wasn't just a boss. He was a mentor who valued character over perfection. Over the next 5 years, I grew tremendously at Miller and Associates. I was promoted from assistant to junior marketing coordinator, then to senior marketing manager. Mr. Miller taught me not just about marketing, but about leadership, integrity, and putting people first. The company culture was special. When employees faced personal struggles, Mr. Miller always put family first. When someone made mistakes, he taught them instead of punishing them. We weren't just colleagues, we were a family. Everything changed on a cold November morning in my 5th year. I received an email from Harrison Global Marketing, one of the biggest marketing firms in the country. They wanted to interview me for a director of marketing position. The offer was incredible. Base salary, $165,000, almost double my current salary of $85,000. Performance bonuses up to $50,000 annually. Company car, full benefits, 4 weeks vacation. Management of a team of 15 professionals. I was stunned. This was the kind of opportunity most people only dream about, but I also felt guilty. How could I even consider leaving Mr. Miller after everything he had done for me? My husband, Michael, encouraged me to at least go to the interview. "You're not betraying anyone by exploring an opportunity," he said. "This is business." The Harrison Global offices were impressive, a gleaming skyscraper with modern furniture and stunning views. Catherine Roberts, the recruiter, painted an exciting picture of my future there. Major clients, unlimited resources, career advancement. "You're being underutilized at a small firm," she said. "Here, you'd reach your full potential." The formal offer letter was even better than expected. Total compensation could reach $210,000 annually. It was generational wealth, enough to change my family's life completely. But as I left that impressive building, all I could think about was our modest office where everyone knew each other's families, where we celebrated birthdays together, where work had meaning beyond just making money. For the next 5 days, I was torn apart. The decision deadline was Friday at 5 p.m. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I looked at Mr. Miller or my colleagues, I felt like a traitor. Michael tried to help. That salary would let us pay off our student loans, buy a bigger house, start a family without financial stress. You have to at least consider it. He was right. The money would change everything, but something didn't feel right. I thought about my father, who had worked 30 years at a job he hated because it paid well. He retired with money, but with deep regrets. "Money can't buy back the years you wasted being unhappy," he once told me. I thought about my college roommate, who now made 6 figures at a consulting firm, but worked 80 hours a week, barely seeing her family, constantly exhausted and stressed. Thursday came and went. I was too afraid to talk to Mr. Miller. What would I say? How could I tell him I was considering leaving? Friday arrived, decision day. I came to the office early, trying to make a list of pros and cons, but how do you quantify loyalty? How do you measure the value of workplace happiness? At 9 a.m., Mr. Miller stopped by my desk as usual. "Morning, Sarah. How's everything?" This was my chance. I should tell him, but instead I said, "Everything's fine." He walked away, and I hated myself for my cowardice. The deadline crept closer. At 2 p.m., Catherine Roberts texted, "Still planning to hear from you by 5. We're excited." In that moment, I realized I had been asking myself the wrong question. The question wasn't, should I take the better paying job? The real question was, what kind of life do I want to live? I stood up and walked to Mr. Miller's office. I knocked on Mr. Miller's door with a trembling hand. "Come in." I entered and closed the door. "Mr. Miller, I need to be completely honest with you." I told him everything. The email, the interview, the offer, the deadline that was now less than 3 hours away. Mr. Miller listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long silence. "That's an exceptional offer," he finally said. "Harrison Global is a top company. You deserve this kind of recognition." "I haven't accepted it," I said quickly. "I don't know if I want to leave." He looked out the window for a long moment, then turned back to me. His eyes were filled with emotion. "Sarah, I want to tell you a story about my wife, Margaret." He showed me a photo of a beautiful woman with kind eyes. "Before I started this company, I worked for a big firm like Harrison Global. I was successful, good title, excellent salary, but I was miserable. When Margaret was diagnosed with cancer, my boss gave me 3 days off for her surgery, then told me I had to come back. 'Work comes first,' he said." His voice broke. "So I made the wrong choice. I stayed at that job. I missed her chemotherapy appointments. I missed being there when she needed me most, all because I was afraid of losing my career." Tears rolled down his cheeks. "The cancer came back 2 years later, terminal. I quit immediately that time. I spent her last 6 months with her, and her final words to me were, 'Thank you for coming back to me.'" I was crying now, too. After she died, I started Miller and Associates on one principle: people first. Not profits, not growth, people. Because I learned that some things are more important than money and careers. He looked directly at me. "Sarah, I can't match Harrison Global's salary. I can't give you a company car or manage 15 people. My company is small and always will be." Then he said the words that changed everything. "But I can give you something they never will. A place where you matter as a human being. A place where your life outside work is respected. A place where you can build a career without sacrificing your soul." His voice broke completely. "Don't leave, Sarah. Please don't leave." The room was silent, except for both of us crying. In that moment, I understood. This wasn't about salary or title. This was about choosing what kind of person I wanted to be, what values I wanted to live by. I stood up and hugged him. I'm not leaving, Mr. Miller, not for any amount of money. Thank you, he whispered. Thank you, Sarah. At 3:30 p.m., I called Catherine Roberts and declined the offer. Sarah, this is the opportunity of a lifetime, she said, shocked. If you turn this down, we won't call again. I understand, I said, but the best job isn't the one that pays the most. It's the one where you're valued, where you're happy, where you can have a life. That's very idealistic, she said. Maybe, but idealism lets me sleep at night. When I told Michael, he was initially concerned about the financial impact. But after I shared Mr. Miller's story about Margaret, he understood. You made the right choice, he said, holding me. Some things are more important than money. The next Monday, Mr. Miller called me into his office. Sarah, I can't match Harrison Global's salary exactly, but I can do better. I'm raising your salary to $110,000 and promoting you to Vice President of Marketing. You'll also receive 5% of the company's annual profits. I was speechless. There's one more thing, he continued. I'm 54 years old. In a few years, I'll retire. I need a successor who understands this company's values and who I trust completely. That person is you. I'm going to teach you everything about running this business, and eventually Miller and Associates will be yours. Tears streamed down my face. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Yes, absolutely yes. Over the next 3 years, Mr. Miller taught me everything about running the business. I learned about finances, operations, strategy. The company grew. We added new employees, won major clients, increased revenue by 40%. Most importantly, we maintained our culture. When employees faced personal crises, we supported them. When new graduates joined our team, we mentored them with the same grace Mr. Miller had shown me. I remember when we hired Jennifer, a nervous young woman who reminded me of myself. On her first day, I told her, "You're going to make mistakes. That's not just okay, it's expected. What matters is how you handle them." 2 weeks later, she made a serious error, sending confidential information to the wrong client. She came to me terrified, but instead of punishing her, we fixed it together as a team. She learned and grew, just as I had. When I was 8 years into my career, Mr. Miller officially retired and I became CEO. It was both exciting and terrifying. The company was now my responsibility. In my 3rd year as owner, I faced a second major test. A large corporation offered to buy Miller and Associates for $8 million. $8 million, enough to set my family up for generations. But I knew from researching them that they would destroy our culture within 2 years. Everything that made us special would be gone. I met with Mr. Miller, now 68 and fully retired. "What does your gut tell you?" he asked. My gut says no, but my brain says I'm foolish to turn down $8 million. "You're not being offered $8 million for the company," he said wisely. "You're being offered $8 million to destroy everything that makes it meaningful. What do you value more, wealth or meaning?" I thought about my daughter Emma, now 3 years old, and the values I wanted to teach her. I thought about our employees who depended on us for more than just income. I thought about the legacy Mr. Miller had built and entrusted to me. I value meaning, I said. I declined the $8 million offer. 15 years later. I'm writing this 15 years after I first walked through the doors of Miller and Associates. I'm now 38, the owner and CEO of a successful company, and the mother of 2 beautiful children. Last month, I met with Catherine Roberts, the recruiter who offered me that job 15 years ago. She had reached out, curious about my career. I thought you were making a huge mistake, she admitted. But now I see you were the smartest person I ever tried to recruit. You own your company, you've created an amazing workplace culture, and you actually have a life outside of work. That's rare. She told me she had burned out after 20 years at Harrison Global, and now worked for herself with better work-life balance. Mr. Miller passed away 2 years ago at 73, surrounded by family. At his funeral, I gave the eulogy. Mr. Miller taught me that true success isn't measured in dollars or titles, I said. It's measured in the positive impact you have on people's lives, the values you live by, and the legacy you leave behind. By that measure, James Miller was one of the most successful people I ever knew. Today, as I sit in the office that used to be his, still keeping his "world's okayest boss" mug on my desk, I think about that November day 15 years ago when he said, "Don't leave." I didn't leave, and it was the best decision I ever made. Not because of money, though the company is successful. Not because of prestige, though we've won awards. But because I built a life that aligns with my values. I work where people matter more than profits. I come home to my children with energy and joy instead of exhaustion and resentment. I'm teaching the next generation that success doesn't require sacrificing your soul. Miller and Associates now has 25 employees. We continue to grow while maintaining the culture that makes us special. When employees face struggles, we support them. When they make mistakes, we teach them. When they succeed, we celebrate together. Jennifer, the nervous young woman who made mistakes on her first projects, is now a senior account manager. The cycle of mentorship continues. Every day, I remember Mr. Miller's lesson. True leadership is about service, not power. True success is about meaning, not money. And true wealth is measured in the positive impact you have on people's lives. Some might say I gave up $165,015 years ago and $8,003 years after that. But what I gained was infinitely more valuable. A career aligned with my values, a workplace where people flourish, and the satisfaction of building something meaningful. When I look at Emma and David, my children, I hope they learn this lesson early. Chase meaning, not just money. Build relationships, not just resumes. Create value, not just revenue. And when they face their own difficult decisions someday, when someone offers them more money to leave something meaningful, I hope they remember their mother's story. I hope they remember that sometimes the best decision isn't the most obvious one. I hope they remember that wealth without purpose is empty, but purpose without extreme wealth is fulfilling. Most of all, I hope they remember that when you find a place where you're valued as a human being, where your work matters, and where you can grow without sacrificing your soul, you hold on to it. Because those places are rare and precious. 15 years ago, my boss said, "Don't leave." I stayed. and I've never regretted it for a single day. The end.